Hey everyone, and welcome to Boston Autoblog. Well, it was bound to happen sooner or later, as today marks the first time I say goodbye to a model that will no longer be in production. I find it fitting that the first car that I'm going to be featuring that will no longer be in production is the Ford Fusion, because Ford was the first company to decide to go in the crossover direction. Personally, I think this is just one of many cars over the next few years that I'll be featuring that will no longer be coming off the assembly lines. Crossovers are high volume sellers, they're hot sellers, consumers want them, and for even a vehicle behind me like the Ford Fusion, sales have dropped significantly. So that's just the direction that the automotive industry is heading in, what consumers want and demand, and I just feel that this is just the beginning of what's going to transpire over the next few years. Now, Ford says the Fusion will be in production until 2020. After that, the future doesn't look too bright, as Ford really has made no significant changes to this car over the last few years, and that is usually an indicator that it's the end of the road for the model. So with that being said, join me in this one final goodbye to this car and really do one last proper feature of the Ford Fusion. And so, without wasting any further time, let's get right into this video. Models come and go all the time, but very rarely do high-volume sellers get cut from automotive brands' lineups. And yet that's exactly what's happened to the Ford Fusion. In response to increasing consumer demand for crossovers, Ford became the first manufacturer to make the bold move to primarily sell SUVs, getting rid of the Fiesta, Focus, Fusion, and Taurus, which is already having a ripple effect across an industry that appears to be transitioning away from the traditional family sedan. GM announced they'd be making a similar move, getting rid of the Chevy Impala and Cadillac CT6. But sales for those two cars pale in comparison to what the Fusion had brought to the Ford Motor Company over the last 15 years. When the Fusion was first introduced, it was essentially going to be the replacement for the Ford Taurus, which at the time received some criticism from journalists. They felt that replacing an iconic car with something brand new would be received poorly by consumers. But as history has shown us, not only did the Fusion fill in perfectly for the Taurus, it became a strong competitor to the Honda Accord and Toyota Camry the minute it arrived at dealerships. Back in 2018, Ford dealers across the country weren't happy with this announcement that the company would cease production of the Fusion. And while crossovers and pickup trucks will be more lucrative in the near and distant future, concern over not having a sedan in a lineup is certainly warranted. The second generation Fusion that we've been accustomed to seeing on the roads over the last 6 years was a part of Ford's global car strategy called One Ford. Designed by Ford's Europe division, the Fusion, along with the Fiesta and Focus, arrived in showrooms around 2013, and these models would also be sold to other global markets. Seeing immediate success, the Fusion's European styling, along with its award-winning hybrid model, made the sedan a hot seller, and in 2013 and 2014, sales exceeded 300,000 cars in the United States. In the years leading up to a sharp decline in sales in 2018, the Fusion drew in many Americans due to its affordability, practicality, styling, and for some, its understated performance. Not common on the roads, the Fusion Sport gets a 2.7-liter EcoBoost V6 that puts out 325 horsepower and 280 pound-feet of torque. Surprisingly, it was faster than most mid-size sedans in its class. But with very little coverage from the automotive press, and most consumers choosing the 1.5 and 2-liter 4-cylinder engines, the Fusion's eyebrow-raising performance numbers just couldn't muster enough attention from the general public. Instead, the Fusion's good fuel economy and hybrid trim made this car very desirable for the average American, along with its price tag of just under $30,000. We could sit down and write a list of factors that have attributed to the demise of a sedan that many Americans welcomed with open arms when it arrived at dealers. One issue being the very old and worn out exterior that Ford didn't update in the 6 years of the current generation being on sale. While initially sales skyrocketed in 2013 for the Fusion, Toyota and Honda continued to change the design of their cars. And despite bold styling receiving mixed reviews by consumers, the Japanese rivals still see healthy sales numbers in a segment that's experiencing a gradual decline in interest. The interior is another aspect of the Fusion that no doubt played a role in slowing sales, but this is a sentiment many consumers had with the entire Ford lineup. And as we inch closer to a new decade, the brand out of Dearborn, Michigan is back on track with refreshes for the Escape and Explorer. But could the interior facelifts that now appear in the crossovers have saved this sedan?
Absolutely not, and there's a number of reasons why I say this. Now, in 2019, the Fusion is going to offer more in terms of an economical standpoint. It's better with fuel economy because of the hybrid trim, and right now in 2019, the Escape doesn't have hybrid yet. However, that all changes by the beginning of fall when the 2020 model year arrives, and the Escape now offers a very flexible sense in terms of fuel economy. So with the hybrid, I think you can get somewhere close to 450 miles of range, so that really changes the game. However, from a consumer standpoint, the Escape and the Explorer offer more in terms of versatility and practicality. You get more cargo room, and I think being higher off the ground, there's more of a safety aspect that consumers want. However, I don't think a digital instrument panel or even a different center console is going to change anything, especially in this segment of the market. Now, with luxury cars, it's a different story. We see BMW, Mercedes-Benz, and Audi going to digital infotainment systems and digital information displays, and that is a little bit of a different sense. I think, people in that market, in that price range, want more of a luxurious feel, whereas at $28,000 or $30,000, consumers want overall practicality, versatility, cargo room, and safety. So that is the reason why I don't think that having an updated interior really changes things for the Ford Fusion. However, there's one variable in play that no one's really talking about, and that is Toyota and Honda. In my opinion, those two brands pushed Ford right out of the segment entirely. When you look at the Honda Accord and the Toyota Camry, they're still selling at 300,000 cars a year, whereas the Fusion has really seen significant decline in sales from 2013 and 2014. I think that Ford feels that they can compete with the RAV4 and the Honda CR-V a little bit better than the Camry and the Accord, and I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that the Camry and the Accord, they have very loyal followings. Even the Corolla has a very loyal following where people are just trading in older models and buying a new one. And I don't think Ford has that anymore, especially with the Fusion. The Fusion has been a car that really popped up 15 years ago, so there's really not that traditional sense of people buying a Fusion every 3 to 5 years. Whereas I think the Taurus had that, but when the Taurus was replaced by the Fusion, I think that momentum was lost. And, Honda and Toyota never really lost that. And even heading into next decade, I think there's still consumers who own Honda Accords and Toyota Camrys that will trade up for the newer model, which I don't think Ford really has that with the Fusion.
Now, despite this being the end of the Fusion, Fiesta, Focus, and Taurus, this might not be the end of cars for the Ford Motor Company. Rumors of a four-door Mustang Sportback in 2018 got many car enthusiasts talking. But for future plans, Ford is really keeping quiet on what could be in the works. No matter what happens over the next 5 years, it appears that we're at the end of an era that has spanned decades. And soon, all across the country, the family sedan will be replaced with an array of crossovers that will take over showrooms and lots at every dealership in the future. So guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more, and I'll see you guys next time.